I forgot I was out of order, guys. First of all, I gotta bring Pedro. Come here, Pedro. Come on.
So we sit around here?
Yeah.
How you doing?
So, for those of you, everybody knows Pedro probably watching the stream, but if you don't, this is Pedro. If you weren't at his event yesterday, he did an amazing job at his event too. We had 2 events in this town this weekend, and it's really nice to see this many people throw up or show up. So I just wanted to give Pedro the mic here and let him say a couple words because we spent a lot of time planning this.
We did. We spent a lot of time. Shout out to my man Hannibal, Jaywalk, Sam, putting together the website, and all the people that we brought together today, yesterday, drivers, companies, content creators in the same room that might not have never been in the same room. They were able to connect together. Kim, Zach, Bentley. So it's really great. We do these events every year. This is the 3rd event we've done together. We did a virtual one in October of 2022. So we really care about drivers, and we want people to make money and provide for their families. And that's a big thing we're going to talk about today. Thank you for having me here. This is Denver's been amazing, so I really look forward to hearing people's perspectives and having some questions asked and answered. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, of course. Everybody, great Pedro. Give it up to Pedro. Now it's time for Mr. Pickle. So if you don't know David, David is the CEO and founder of Para, and he's going to talk a little bit about something that we've been working on for a while, the driver singular rights.org. It's kind of like something we believe in since pretty much the time we met. So, Mr.
I want to say thank you to everyone for being here. Like, really, the whole point of this is to get a bunch of awesome people in a room who may or may not have the same opinions and everything, but I believe with a same goal, which is they want to make gig work, basically. So really, I hope this is the first of a lot of these, but really the goal is to get all the right people here, and I could be excited to have everyone here.
Yeah.
We believe, I guess, at Para, I believe in with the driver rights movement, a couple of very basic principles. So we believe that most gig workers want to be independent contractors, but at the same time, that doesn't mean things can't be better or there are things that people are not unhappy about. So really, that's a couple of basic principles. Is I'm in charge of my work. I should have a say in the system. My time is valuable. I should use the tools I want to run my own business. And those are the sort of very basic principles that we believe that the gig platform should honor as to what it means to be an independent contractor. And I think we're super excited to talk through a lot of those today. We have different people talking on those different topics. And really, I think the other part to be here is just really support STEP, right? So we have a gig worker who is representing gig workers, right? And that is not common, right? So yeah, the other point to get us all here is just to give her our love and support and propel her forward, and hopefully use what STEP can do as an example for other cities, other states, and just have that as the beginning of a larger movement. So thank you.
Thank you. You guys, if you don't know Zach, Zach drives fast, so check him out.
Hey, good to be here. It's good to see so many awesome faces. So many of you guys I'm meeting for the first time. So many of you I've seen on the internet. So it's very, very cool to be in the same room with some of the awesome folks I've seen online. There's no right or wrong answer to this question, but by a show of hands, how many of you feel that we are actually independent contractors? That's not looking so good.
I'm just waiting for that.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat. I did some research before I came out, and the definition, according to the IRS, of an independent contractor is a person who completes a job with little to no oversight by the person assigning the work. So, by definition, sure, we're independent contractors, but we're independent contractors when it benefits the companies, not when it benefits us. When it comes to not paying benefits, we're independent contractors. When it comes to not reimbursing for gas, independent contractors. So, but when it comes to having all of the information that we need to make an informed decision, we're employees. And I am a firm believer that if we are going to agree to do a job, we have every right to know exactly what that's gonna pay and where we're gonna end up. And so frequently, that's with health purpose. So never let a company dictate your safety or your bottom line. So if there is a tool that you guys use it properly. Give yourself the advantage that they do not give us. And keep making your money, be safe.
Exactly what he said. And by the way, good friend of ours too. We got Kim coming up here. She's going to talk about deactivations and what's going on here. So Kim, come on up.
Okay. Hey everyone, those of you who don't know me, I am Kim on YouTube, known as Kim's Side Money Plan. Through working with YouTube, no, I've never been deactivated, knock on wood, from any of these platforms, but I do have a voice, and when you get drivers who get deactivated, what's the one thing that they do is they come to content creators because they want you to understand what they're going through. And usually for me, my heart just bleeds because someone just lost their income. And I think that's the biggest part of wrongful deactivations is when you feel helpless because you don't have your income anymore and you have absolutely no clue why you got deactivated. And you just get that email saying you've been deactivated. And usually it comes under false pretenses of fraudulent or something to that effect. And when you go to fill it out, the form for these deactivations, you're like, I don't even know what to put down because I don't even know why I'm deactivated. And then you go through support and it's scripted and you're like, I just want a human being telling me what I did because I want to fill out this form right. And it never happens that way. And I think there has to be a balance. Yes, some deactivations are legit and they should stand, but this is really for a lot of the drivers out there who go out every single day and get that email. And we all have friends here in the YouTube community, and we all have a friend who recently did 21,000 deliveries and got deactivated and had no idea why. And that's just concerning because for me, I just reached 10,000 deliveries, so should I be concerned that I should be deactivated next? And you never know when it's coming. So, I think you're going to hear a lot today about transparency. And these companies aren't very transparent with their drivers. And this is just another form of them not being transparent with why you're being deactivated. So I think going forward, with people stepping in, there has to be that balance. And I think transparency, it has a lot to do with it so that way drivers really know. And it's a blessing to be an independent contractor. I can be a present parent. I can have the flexibility, and that's why I do what I do. So, that's the blessing of being what we do. But the curse is also knowing that these companies sometimes take advantage of that and that they can really do whatever they want to do with the disguise of independent contractorship. So, with one voice, several voices, hopefully 1,000 voices, we can all make a change for the better, and hopefully that starts here today. And thank you guys all for being here and being a part of this amazing event.
You guys, this part wasn't even planned, but yesterday I was watching his speech, and I'm so glad he made it because he represents a different community. His channel is Delivery TV. I want to bring Louis up and let him say a few words.
What I was saying yesterday is before I came here, I asked my community, what do you want me to convey? What do you want me to do? And of course, I'm always receiving messages and emails. And as content creators, we receive those messages and we feel the pain there. We as Kim was saying, we became an extension of customer support, of driver support in the YouTube channel. In my channel, I start receiving, of course, $2 orders, the mileage, the problem, the activation. But there's a problem in the Hispanic community that is growing. And I want to share this with you and with the audience. And this is what I was sharing yesterday. There's 2 years ago, I started receiving videos, pictures, information, and I want to begin saying that I know people need to put food in the table. I need that, and some people don't have the ability to have an app and register on an app, and that I understand. And that problem is not new. What is new is gangs from other countries creating and robbing and obtaining databases to create accounts. And now there's a marketing place, there's a marketplace for delivery drivers accounts. And you see in the Walmart, you see you're waiting for an order, and you see 4 drivers taking orders and taking orders and taking orders, and you never receive orders because they now have technologies to block signals in the parking lot. And we're worried because who is the driver who is taking the orders to the customer house? Because in what I know, and I've been receiving, and I send this to the delivery apps, and we don't receive any answer and solutions. And basically what's going on is that we are watching these dangerous people and people with criminal backgrounds taking orders, robbing orders, and robbing identities, social securities, and to go to the point, and I was sharing an example yesterday. I'm working here. Okay, here. I was sharing this example yesterday. The problem here is this is like a restaurant, and a restaurant maybe needs 10 waiters. But what's going on here is that the owner of the restaurant hired a manager, and the manager started to hire waiters and waiters and waiters and waiters, and in a restaurant where you only need 10 waiters, now you have 2,000 waiters. And the managers are earning a percentage for each waiter. And it's damaging the identities, it's causing problems with the security, and it's causing financial problems to the community. So I think we need security. And we need to do something because the apps are not doing anything with the security subject. So thank you very much. I try to do this.
You guys, and he represents an entire community. He's in Houston, and he deals with a lot of issues. Before I get to Stephanie, look out, people.
Oh boy.
Sergio, come on. We got Sergio from the rideshare guy. Here he goes.
Hey, everybody. Am I the closer, Steve? Or no? Am I? What, Senator Priola here? Is he listening?
He's coming.
Is he coming?
Oh, he's coming down?
We've got a problem.
Is he coming?
We took her.
Senator. Okay, so I'm Sergio with the rideshare guy. I've been a senior contributor for the last 5.5 years. New to YouTube, to all the content creators. By the way, it's great to see everybody in 3D. You know, we always see him on the screen somehow, and we think, you know, wow, I want to meet this person one day, and today, and this weekend. Pedro, thank you so much. Yesterday, awesome event. But I want to thank, first of all, Steve, Para-Rodeo. I want to thank David to create this opportunity. I think this is going to be an amazing bridge building process when it comes to driver rights, basic driver rights. We're not asking for the order. And Senator Priola, thank you. And Stephanie, which I've spoken to before and had an interview with her on our channel. So my view of this is a little different. You know, I think the companies have proven over the last decade that they have created a sustainable business model for themselves. But I don't think the business model that most drivers are experiencing is sustainable. So as a driver of 7 years on close to 8 platforms now, and it's going to be 9 with Curry coming up. and I think the earnings trend is not the driver's trend, okay? And as a 20-year do what we have to do to be profitable because we're all small businesses. Now, I'm thinking more like if they're sustainable and turning profitable now after a decade, which they are, we just announced that they turned profitable, first time in their history. And DoorDash is not too far behind. I'm just gonna talk about these two companies. You know, they're the two big, gorillas in the room. So if Uber is gonna be profitable, I think they could share now some of the wealth with the drivers as far as the earnings trend is concerned. And as far as all the other things Kim talked about, not just the activations, that has to end. We cannot keep getting fired by AI bots. It's just, there's no excuse for that. And as Zach talked about as well, there are things that we can do, and we can start in a small basis, city by city. I don't believe federal government coming down and codifying everybody as an employee is the answer to this, because then we're all gonna suffer, okay? And we do our surveys at RSG, Rideshare Guide, 75% of us want to stay independent contractors. But we want to be treated as independent contractors. We don't want these companies to have the cake and eat it too, which is what they're doing now. As Zach did, raise up hands. Who thinks they're independent contractors? I don't think I saw one hand going up, right?
Ron.
So does that say, Ron? Okay. Ron, we have to have a talk.
I'll explain something.
I will close you later. So when one hand doesn't go up, what does that mean? Does that mean we're all misclassified? Does that mean we don't want to be employees of these companies? Absolutely not, right? So we have to find a happy medium through legislation. And we have to start small. I mean, I have very good friends up in Washington State and Seattle that have a working model, sustainable model for everyone. Win-win-win situation. I implore all of you to go study that model because it's working. It's been there for 3 years, not 3 weeks. But it started in the city of Seattle and it grew to the state of Washington. Same thing is happening in Minneapolis. Hopefully it'll grow into the state of Minnesota. We have to start small. We have to create small fires. And that all comes with all of this community coming together. Pedro, all the other content creators. We need to have a united voice. Or the best you can do is educate your viewers, inform your viewers. Getting in a car and doing a little ride along saying, oh, look, I made $300 today. I don't think legislatures are going to be interested in that. I think we need to have more substance. We need to create leaderships in each small town and city and go on from there. And I think this is a doable project. And so I told this to Stephanie, with everything I have, media contacts, platform, I'm going to give it as hard as a push as I can in the next 6 months to create some fair and just legislation. So, thank you all for coming. I'll give it back to Steve.
I think Sergio should do that.
Yeah, Sergio, what did you,
Hey,
what
why
happened in
don't you-
California?
Yeah, what
What did
do you want to
do?
talk about what you did for the work? Or do we want to wait a little bit? See if that's it. Okay, good enough. So obviously you guys, I think we're upset. It's her turn. But I think we teed it up for her pretty nice, did we not? Okay, so I would love for Stephanie to come up and explain her legislation and why she did it and anything you want to say about it, please.
Sure. Well, where do you want to hear?
Well, we're still trying to figure out what the hybrid model is here. I want to face the people that are in the room and also give a little bit of, visibility to the folks watching at home. Hi, I'm Steph Vigil. I represent Central Colorado Springs and the People's House. This is my first term that I just got through, and I've done a lot of this delivery service work myself. So I am, to my knowledge, unless somebody is keeping a really good secret, the only gig worker who's ever been elected to the People's House of Colorado, which is important. Yes, thank you. We need it there. So I really just want to invite everyone to kind of dig deep with these conversations that we're having today, and as we move along and gear up for next session, and really think about what it is that you want this industry to do for you and your family and your community and your life. Because we have put so much energy into chasing all of the little problems that these companies create for us, trying to play that game of whack-a-mole and finding that anything that we do, they're going to find another way to screw us on the other side of it. So, if we fight for mileage, they'll find another way to take it out of us. We got DoorDash to stop stealing our tips, then they just lowered the base compensation rate. Right, we've gone round and round and round with this, and I just want to invite everyone to consider, and I'm going to push back against Sergio a little bit. We're a little bit different in this regard. I don't want to start small. I don't do small. I don't do small. Guys, we already, the people in this room and the people who make the food that we deliver and everybody else who contributes to this economy, we already have it all. It's ours. This is your labor. It's your time. It's your effort. That's literally the stuff your life is made of. How much more of it are we going to keep giving so that some billionaire somewhere who said, well, I wrote the code for this, or I hired the people who wrote the code for this, so all of the product of your labor is actually mine. And if you decide, if you find a way that you can, keep a little bit of it, you should be grateful for that little bit that you get to keep out of what you create with your own time and effort. I'm over it. I'm not playing this game. It's your labor, isn't it? Do you all work hard?
Yes.
I feel like these are some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. Service industry workers, gig drivers, all of the people who do all the work that we just agreed a few years ago, this is essential. This is the essential labor. When everybody else got to stay home, why did they get to stay home? You mean because other people made food and delivered it to them and picked up their groceries and brought it to them? Isn't that what happened? I feel sometimes like they're kind of trying to gaslight all of us, right? Like you're just so lucky that you have a job opportunity at all. And the really important part is that we protect the company so that they can create earning opportunities for you and me. And the earning opportunity is already there because we already know how to do productive labor. We already know how to work hard. We already know how to. We have everything. It's already ours. The problem isn't that we don't have it and we're trying to get it. The problem is that they are taking it from us. And so the bill that we ran this last session, I put together with Colorado Independent Drivers United, which I'm a member of, some other input from other drivers around the state. And we really wanted to focus in on the companies just keeping their word for the thing they already say that they are. If you are a platform that brings on independent contract work, then you owe us your side of it. It can't just be that I'm an independent contractor in regards to the risk, but you're going to treat me like an employee when it comes. You don't get to say oh no, you take the jobs you want and you turn down the jobs that you don't want. And that's what makes you an independent contractor, and then manipulate the data and hide things from us and try to coerce us into saying yes when we know it's not a good offer. So they've been trying to have it both ways here, and we're just not going to play that game anymore. So we focused on the transparency more than anything. And I have to tell you, it was fascinating to listen to some of these company leads and their lobbyists tell me, but I need somebody to take every single one of these offers. Even if it only pays $2 and there's no mileage and it doesn't pay the driver enough to live on if they take all those offers, they still need somebody to take it. And I said, it sounds like you need the drivers. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you need drivers. It sounds like you need workers. It sounds to me like if you don't have gig drivers, you don't have a gig economy. And so we should be standing up for that more than anything at this point. Whatever it is that we need to know to make decisions about our own work, we have the right to know it in full. And they'll find some ways to kind of pit us against each other, to pit us against our customers, to pit us against our neighbors. But I'm just going to keep coming back to this. It's all ours already. It's our economy. It's our labor. We make all of this happen. They should be grateful that we step up and work as hard as we do every day so that we can have this economy in the first place where there's a gig world where you can get things delivered and you can always get a ride. We make that happen, not the company. So that's the kind of bill that we ran. We're going to have another go at it next session because as someone who ran for my seat more than once and has struggled to survive, like so many of you, I know you have to take more than one swing once in a while before you're successful in something. And so I really think this day is a great opportunity for you all to vent openly about everything that's not working for you on the app. And I just want us to be thinking kind of longer term about what does it look like if this industry works the way it's supposed to and everybody's happy. And strive for that and make them, as the companies, explain to us, if they can, why that's not possible. Because I know that it is, you all know that it is. So we will do that together. And I will stop ranting now.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear his take on what played out here. So, but yeah, go ahead.
So we'll say also my colleague who's here, wherever he's hanging around at me, he's so pussy, did indicate to me he's primarily here to listen, so I wanna like respect that and kind of, keep that open. So, do you wanna jump in?
I'll sit on the mic. I'm just here to listen.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. No, that's great. That's what we asked of the senator.
Thank you.
That
Thank you.
he's here.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think one of the things that gets us, and again, we've got a few different like angles at coming to this. Stephen and I talked about, he kind of comes at this from a little bit of a different angle than I do, and Dave and I are always on the same page, and we obviously don't know. But the point is, like, we are up against a really well unified and very opaque system of big tech power. And so they will never hesitate to cover each other's backs. They will never hesitate to coalesce around their interests, which is just to maximize their profit, which is so easy to do when you already have the money in your hands and you get to try to withhold it from the rest of us and, get us to tell us how high we need to jump if we want to get the fruits of our own labor, right? So what we want to, I think, really focus on in like the coming months and coming years as we kind of tackle this problem is to find the things that we know we agree on and dig in our heels, because they're not going to stop fighting us on this. The big tech lobby at the Capitol is very powerful. They pulled some really interesting tricks to undermine us on a variety of occasions. And so we want to be really clear about what we want and what we expect out of this industry and demand it. And I think there are some things that I think we can safely say, like, no, just having all the information I need to make the right choice, that should be a no-brainer. I'm not moving on that. We might have a few things we can, disagree on or let that slide and negotiate on, but like, we want to come together, I think, around the things that we all know we can agree on and be unified and be firm and stubborn about those things. So I do want to open it up to like what's going on with y'all on your apps. What do you see, that can be working better? What do you?
First one is from Thomas. He wants to know, what can drivers do to help stay independent?
Can you repeat the question on the mic, maybe?
He said he wants to know what drivers can do to stay independent. Well, I think it's advocating for this, right? I mean, if the alternative becomes that, if they want to treat us like employees sometimes, but treat us like independent contractors on others, there's a point at which they're going to try to solidify a law one way or the other. We don't want the company to do it their way. We want to do it our way, right? I think there's also an equal risk where they solidify independent contractor status, but in a way that's very beneficial to them, and that's going to be a problem for us as well. So we really want to stay in the fight about getting those transparency measures, getting due process for deactivations, and making sure that the companies have a responsibility to the public. Right, that's why like the Public Utilities Commission in Colorado is the entity that manages our TNCs, our transportation network companies. And the reason for that is because they've largely taken the place of taxi cab companies, right? Like we recognize that's not entirely an independent thing. It's part of the broader public transportation scheme of things. So we really want to focus on that and make sure that when you have the opportunity to contact your local elected officials, wherever you are, that you make sure that they're protecting your rights as a driver. There's no question that somebody really well paid to look out for big tech is going to be whispering in your ear on the other side. So you got to stand up for your own wants.
The second question is from Bud Sutter. Do you think it is possible to pass a state bill with transparency behind it without attaching any money to it?
Without attaching any money to it. I mean, so certainly like ours from this session did. We didn't really lock in any like per mile or per minute or anything like that kind of requirements. We, to a certain extent, were kind of calling their bluff, right? Because they've said all this time, like, well, we have to keep you, that's what everybody said they wanted was flexibility. So we can't give you the kind of rights that employees get. And we're like, okay, well, if you're not going to do that, then you owe us the transparency, like plain and simple. And then it became, well, we can't really tell everybody everything because then too many people will say no. Yeah, no kidding. The right to say no is what makes you independent, right? If you have to say yes, then you're on the clock, somebody else's clock. But if you're on your own clock, you have the right to say no. So I think actually keeping the dollar amounts out of it like kind of is the safest bet, right? If this is the way that they're going to operate, then this is what they owe us. And if they want to have a different business model, that's up to them. That's not a government thing from my perspective. From my perspective, the government thing is whatever kind of business you are, you have to do it in a way that protects workers and consumers.
think what he's getting at is without any money backers behind the
Like,
bill,
without taxes.
without taxes, things like
Anything
that, without
like
pushing
just
it that way.
To get this.
Oh, goodness. I mean, so the only additional cost that came up in our bill, and this was only because we ran into a funding issue where the Department of Labor's side of it was gonna be the deactivation review. That's what we were still kind of gunning for, is to get the Colorado Department of Labor and Statistics has the ability to review deactivations and decide what's just and not just. They can do that. They're already set up for that. That's an essential public service that Coloradans offer to our citizens. It's like, we can do that for gig drivers. They didn't want to pay for it with a certain fund that we had, so we were going to attach just like a 2 cent per ride fee to cover it, so that everybody would know they have the right to a review. And that was the only thing that was gonna cost anything under this bill. And whenever we bring it back, it would be similar.
Yeah, one last question from Bud Sutto again. Do you think it is possible to get a fair deactivation bill approved?
Yeah, no, I absolutely think so. And again, I'll say, I think, from my perspective, and I know other states might have kind of different ways of approaching this, but we have a pretty reliable system already within the Department of Labor. This is what they do. If you get unjustly fired from your job and you're an employee, if you have wages withheld from you illegally, if anything like that happens with anybody you do business with, that's what they're there for, regardless of whether you're hired or a contractor. So this to me is that instead of creating a whole new entity, like, work with what we've got. It's a good public service. It should work for us as well as anybody else who works for a living.
To me, this goes back to sort of like what I worked at.
Yeah.
It goes back to like the companies want to gain the benefit of what it means to be an independent contractor without holding up their end of the bargain, right? So, not a secret to a lot of people. I worked at Uber at a point in my life, right? So I worked at Uber operations. I launched Uber in Las Vegas. I was a logistics manager who set it up. I involved lobbying state officials, set up the deals with casinos. So I've been in the belly of the beast, right? Like, I've run the beast to some extent. And what happened with deactivations, right? I think what I really wanted to highlight is what we always said is like, look, we cannot give you a reason to why you are deactivated, because as an independent contractor, we can't give you the reason that you're deactivated, which is frankly just bullshit, right? But where it comes back to, I think, is really that, hey, we're going to use this IC thing when it benefits us so that we don't need to owe you anything, but only at our own convenience, really, right? And I think that's sort of just the part that frankly annoys me, right? Is the using of it at your convenience there. So, yeah.
I think, talking about background checks, I think it'd be helpful if the passengers had background checks. They can make up names, they can use gift cards, they can have a friend, and if they get deactivated, they could just make up another name. There's no verification. So, drivers need to be kept safe. It's not just about passengers being safe, because there's been a lot of drivers that have been hurt or killed, and there's nothing to prevent that right now. There needs to be some level of security.
Yep. I fully agree with you, and that should get a clap, you guys. I fully agree with you, but I think all of us know they're not going to do that, because that's just bad business for them. Well, let's be honest, they're never going to do that. But honestly, they're never going to do it. They're never going to spend a dime. They're not going to do anything that rocks the boat of getting rid of even the worst customer, because to them that's just money. They don't care. They don't, and I'm going to be honest. They don't care about our safety. That's very apparent. They don't care about our safety. They don't care about our safety when something happens to us. When the most extreme situations happen to something, they don't care. And in fact, I've seen all of these companies abuse that when something happens and use it to a PR advantage, which it blows my mind. Like, there was that person in Florida not too long ago doing deliveries, not rideshare. We used to see the violence only in rideshare. But there was that person in Florida who was doing delivery, dropped the bag off. You guys all done this, took the picture. As they were taking the picture, the person opened the door, pulled them in the house, and dismembered. I mean, what did DoorDash do about it? DoorDash did nothing. It used it as PR. And I don't know how you spin that into good PR, but they did. They did nothing for the family, they did nothing for the driver that was killed, but they somehow got PR out of it and did nothing for us. So, it's just, all of us work very hard. We've all gotten to a multi-apping levels. We're using multi-apps to make money. Because for those that are new, in case you are unaware, working one app might work in your market, but I highly doubt it. Yeah, yeah, please. She's hot now.
Don't get loyal to an app, they're not loyal to you. That is not a two-way street. And I think, the safety concern is a really big one, and Steve raised a good point about why would it matter to them, right? It's just, they've got a bottom line, and listen, I'm definitely a lot more to the left than some people, but it's not about whether or not it's good or bad to be a for-profit business. We just have to be honest about what we're dealing with and recognize that their goals are not always going to be the same as ours, right? Their objective is to get you to take an offer that's as low as they can get you to accept it at, and for nobody to say no, right? They need you to do the work, and they need you to do it for as little pay as they can get you to do it for. That's where their profit margin comes from. But our interest is always going to be to obviously stay safe at work, my God, not get killed or harassed or assaulted, but also to make more money. And so if those things are not aligned, we have to recognize that's not your friend. That's not your friend. That's a ghost boss on the other side of that screen. And just the safety issue has always been a big one, right? We've seen this in I've been describing the era we're living in right now as sort of like a second machine age, because it really is, right? We had a Gilded Age and the Industrial Revolution 100 odd years ago. Very similar problems. The way that people worked drastically changed. The way that people were able to, enrich themselves and pursue their own happiness and make a good living for their family drastically changed. And whoever had the most power to manipulate the new rules and the new way of doing things and whatever, they kind of made off with everything, and a lot of people got left behind and hurt. We're going through a similar big shift right now in how we interact with technology when we work and where we work, and getting that regulatory set of regulatory mechanisms in place so that they actually benefit us is really going to have to be the name of the game here. And unfortunately, again, you can't just count on companies to care about your safety. They should. There's a lot of things that people should do because it's the right thing to do. But we have to set rules for a reason. So that's why I was kind of like, you can pass a law that says you have to care about safety. That's what I'm here for. So yes, thank you for that. And I should shut up for a minute and let somebody else.
We have another room in here too for everybody watching. This other room is got people in it as well. We can just only fit someone in here. But I'm going to pick out some other people too. I'm going to walk right up to her. And I'm going to ask her a question. If you could have one thing changed in your game life, from the apps, whatever you want.
Stability. Because we're feeding off algorithms that they're throwing at us. You should be making this much per hour. You should be making this much per hour. It's different in every market. We really don't know what we're going to make. Some days are decent. And other days you're like, man, light bills due tomorrow. We need stability in our lives. I work 40 hours plus at my W-2. Get off work at 7 in the morning, go out with bang on wood. That's what I do. Why? I can't leave my W-2. There's no stability if I leave that. I don't know if all my bills are gonna get paid. I don't know if I'll have extra money to eat or, go see Red up in Philly. I won't have money to enjoy life. So I have to keep the W-2 so I have decent benefits, so I have that money to pay my bills. My gig work, that's my time with my family, that's my fun time, but the money, it has to get better for us. There are people out there that want to spend time with their kids at home, that don't want to pay extra for daycare, mother, husband and wife team doing rideshare, they have a family that they have to be home for. We need the stability now so that we don't have to worry about bills. That's what we need. That's why we need this transparency, $2. Man, get out of here with all that. We have the power. We consider ourselves, we use the term independent contractor, but we're really not when they're holding us to that to our acceptance rate. You wanna be top dasher, you have to take the Popeyes. I'm not taking the Popeyes, man. Tony, you take the Popeyes. Okay? So, yeah. You know,
You're delivering to an area that's not safe to even be delivered.
Yeah.
And then if you don't take that order, now you're at something.
When I started out, all of us, when we started out, we didn't know better, man. We were taking the Popeyes, you know, because we felt like it was an obligation. We signed up, oh, you know, $2, I guess that guy was sick, I don't know, we didn't know any better. You know, now, you know, I have to drive 45 minutes away from my house to a better market in order to make decent money, because by my house, it's all fast food. You ain't making money off fast food. So you have to pivot and adjust in order to, you know, really make that money. You know, DoorDash and Uber Eats and, you know, all the platforms, even rideshare, they really have to work on helping us out. Man, it's not about the customers, man. Without us, we wouldn't have no dang customers. So, that's what I hope for with all this legislation going on, with all this help that you guys are giving to us. In the end, I hope it really is gonna get better for us.
Well, because we've only seen it get worse, and I heard Cody saying something, so I'm giving him mine too, because I know you have things to say always.
Alright, what I got here is if, like these companies with, you know, they're introducing, they use just DoorDash, they're introducing these new programs, this Platinum Card or all this. So now you have to have this they're starting with that now, where you have to have the 70% acceptance rate and have over 100 deliveries in the previous 30 days to even get the ability to do catering orders now. So they're taking away from drivers that don't want to take the junk orders. And then I'm in a market where I'm from, that there is areas that are very dangerous. The crime rate is higher than anywhere else in the country. And I'm being told I have to go there to take these orders there when I have a family and stuff that I'd like to go home to. I don't want to go there, and I don't think people should be forced to have to do something if we're supposed to be independent contractors. That's the part that really messes with me, is because if we're going to be an independent contractor, why am I being told I have to do something and to maintain a rating? And then another thing on it too is, if I have a show up at a restaurant or something and an order's not ready, they always take the side of the restaurant. There's only so many times a restaurant, you know, we get violations for messing up. I believe it should go equally to customers and restaurants. Also, they should get violations too. They should be obligated. If we're going to be obligated to something, everyone should be obligated to it.
So I think that after that, maybe you have a couple things? Oh, here we go. So then step 2, I'm taking.
Really bad at public speaking, I'm really nervous, so please bear with me. Something I gotta push back against, in terms of pay. And it has to do, to your point, Craig, about stability and predictability of how much you are going to make for a particular job. Because if we know, I mainly do ride sharing, so I'm kind of speaking more to the ride share element. If we know what we're gonna make, market conditions aside, if we know what we're gonna make per mile, per minute, like we used to, then no algorithm can price rides differently for different people. And algorithmic wage discrimination wouldn't be a thing at all if we knew exactly what we were gonna make per mile, per minute, like in Washington, like Minnesota. I know everybody, but with inflation, costs going up, us not being able to and speed as much as we used to. 70 in my market, we get paid 70 cents a mile, 20 cents a minute. That rate has been the same for the last 6 years. Costs are going up. So I guess my question to you is, do you feel like not, pushing for minimum pay or predictable pay is just something that we just have a lesser chance of achieving? And if it's really something that we want to fight for in our own markets, like, how would you suggest we kind of move? Should we try to get transparency first, then negotiate pay, or what would you recommend if just the transparency isn't enough?
And thank you for that, because I will say, like, all different ways of tackling this are still on the table, right? Right, like, it's early, there's a lot of different ways we could go after this, the session starts January. And I'll just flag for y'all that I hope you are, watching for the session to start. Get on my newsletter, somewhere I have a sign-up sheet, and I meant to put it out, and I didn't, my name is back here, I'll be sure to get it out. Keep up with my office, because whenever we have, like, opportunities coming up for people to testify in committee, to come lobby your legislative members, I hope y'all will come and do that, because as I said, the big tech lobby, they have no shortage of presence in that building, and those people get paid a lot of money to show up and say that they know what's good for all of us. So if you're not there, they are. That's all they hear. So, what's your name? I'm sorry. So I missed it. No, you just she's great. Great. I like that. That's great. You like really, I think really got to the heart of the issue here about the lack of stability and the loss of your time and not having the opportunity to go home and be with your family at night or have friends or hobbies or sleep at night. Like I said at the beginning, at the top of this, like this is the stuff, your labor is the stuff your life is made of. This is your energy, your time, and your everything that is you and makes you you. How much more of it do you need to give away to somebody else just so you can keep paying your bills? At a certain point, you're just working to live, right? And I think you should be able to live to work. That's kind of what most people are after. It's not that we don't want to work, that we don't work hard. And so we want it to serve our needs, and then you should be able to put down your tools and rest for the evening, right? And we've been over this fight with in other, right? Like previous generations of working people had to do this. They fought like hell for a 40-hour work week. They fought like hell for minimum wages. They fought like hell to end child labor and give us worker protections. And if we have to do it all over again, it's a fair fight. You shouldn't have to like work all day and then all night and leave your kids behind because they only get to be young once and then they're grown, right? So I think you really hit the heart of it there. I think that stability is really important to people. I think you make a good point with the wages issue, with the predictability of income, and I think anything that we need to do should still be on the table as long as we can pass it and make it work. So let's jump in about that. I think one of the really popular things for people to say out there right now about AI is like, oh, it's coming for your jobs and it's going to replace you, and it's in some cases that's very true. And there's always this like, when do the robots come and take our jobs and then wage war against us, right? Like we've all seen Battlestar Galactica 20 times, or maybe that's just me. The small sci-fi obsession. But like the big danger actually with this is not that AI is going to take your job, but that it's going to become your boss. This is the problem, right? This is the problem with the coding so in the legal language in the bill we read this year, and I'm sure it'll come up again, but what we're all talking about here are nonlinear compensation models is kind of our catch-all term. So that's like the quests and the challenges, the top dasher bullshit. The top dasher program. We know but we all agree that that's bullshit, right? And we get that. Please tell me everyone knows that you don't want to be top dasher. Again, don't be loyal to the app, they're not loyal to you. And I'm just going to insert my joke in here for when I'm back on the road and I'm doing deliveries. It would be really funny if DoorDash were to deactivate me because I criticize them publicly. I just sort of say that every time in case they do. But this is so much of the trouble, right? Is that if they have the ability to do that, and there's nothing that holds them publicly accountable for how they're affecting the entire ecosystem in which they're operating, then they will just continue to ratchet it up. And we've seen this with not just with what we're paying, but also with what they're charging the customer. And I will tell you that in the process of this bill, the stakeholded and having lobbyists come out to get involved in it. The point at which they really just lost it and pulled out all the stops to get rid of our bill was over the destination transparency. Because where the customer is, where they live, where they work, where they are, that's the part that is so valuable to them. It is very, very, very important to these companies that they have that information and that you don't. And I think that was really telling because they use that information greatly to their advantage when it comes to pricing. And of course, David knows this. We just explained it. He's been on the other side of it. So I think you touched on something really big there about the unpredictability of it all. And where are they coming up with this stuff? And why is somebody being offered an incentive package today, but not next week? And the person next to you is. Well, they've got a read on you. And they know what that formula is, and they don't want to share it with you for a reason. So
So just to kind of jump in with the quest challenges on Lyft. So not only maybe you got one and you didn't, well, maybe I got one too, where yours is 50 trips, mine's 135 trips for the same dollar value, where 2 months ago, mine was 50 trips or less, but they're giving less money, more trips, and then if I decide, okay, I'm gonna turn off Lyft for 2 months, like my wife, I'll go into her app and look and see what her bonuses are, and it's the same bonuses as mine, but she has to only do 19 trips. So then they reel her back in, and then incrementally move those trips up and up and up. And then you're like, why am I having to do 45 trips a day for 7 days just to hit the same money I was hitting for doing 40 trips a week?
Or the dollar values go down.
Yeah.
Or both.
So that's just my 2 cents on that stuff.
I figured I'd jump in here and explain my reasoning when I raised my hand about why do I call myself an independent contractor? Because the reality is, as far as the positions, as far as doing the deliveries for DoorDash or Uber Eats or doing rideshare, those are not really independent contractor positions. Let's be honest about that. The fact of the matter is, we talked about background checks, right? If I'm providing service as a business, why can't I sign up for any of those companies using my LLC credentials? Every single time, with every single company, you have to sign up as an individual. You have to have a background check done as an individual. You're not being signed on as a business other than when they want to pay you. So that doesn't sound like I'm saying I'm an independent contractor, does it? You know, I think all the things that these companies are doing violate the idea of an independent contractor because of the way they try and control you. And that is absolutely the bottom line thing that you're not supposed to be able to do with independent contractors is control the work, right? But the reason that I call myself an independent contractor is because I decide to be. And in so doing, I look at DoorDash and Uber and all these companies that are as my customers. Now, if you've ever run a business, you know that the nature of the beast is your customers are going to try and screw you over, right? And so that's part of why I don't want to be an employee, for one thing. I'm okay with these companies. I'm not okay with it, but I'm okay operating as an independent contractor with customers that want to screw me over. There's no way in hell that I'm going to be an employee for an employer that wants to screw me over. Because it all comes down to I get a little more control over it. We got a lot of content people, so probably a lot of people are familiar with Gary Vee. Gary Vee had a saying that he said a lot of times that when you're running a business, everything is your fault. And he said, but that's a good thing because that means you're in control. And so that's kind of the approach that I decided to take. And so I've never felt like I was at the mercy of DoorDash or Uber Eats or any of these other companies. I look at it as if I'm running a business. And there's a point when you're running a business that, running a business does not mean flexibility. If you think running a business means flexibility, try opening a restaurant and serving prime rib for breakfast. You can do it because that's your choice, but you're not going to stay in business. So there's not all of those things. But what I've decided to do, and it has done wonders for my peace of mind, is that I decided I'm still going to act like it's my business. I'm going to make my decisions. And you know what? If the money's not there, then it doesn't make business sense for me to go out there and make that money. Now, that doesn't excuse any of the other people. Like I said, the customer's always out there to screw you over, right? Grubhub is that company that they were the kings when I started, or maybe I should say Postmates because they weren't as substantial, but they're always that company that, they're reaching for the candy bar and trying to slip it in their pocket or something and walk out. DoorDash is the one that's a picking up the TV, holding it up high, and saying, "Try and stop me, suckers!" You know, they're all trying to rip us off. But I can work with that because I can still make my decisions around all of those things. Now, the thing about it, though, is when you're doing it from a business mindset, is that there's always a time where you start to realize, man, maybe this just doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe it's time to close up shop. Like I said, I don't want to be an employee of these companies, but I will say that, you know what, if we wanted to force an employee model, there's one way to do it. And that is everybody who, there's a part of your contract, no matter what platform, there's a part of the contract somewhere that says, I agree that I am providing services as a business. Some kind of language like that. I am providing services as a business and not as an employee. There's somewhere in there, you know, there's something to that nature that's in your contract somewhere. Now, if everybody who didn't believe that decided, well, I'm not signing up for that, they would have to go out and hire employees. And if everybody who just said, okay, I'm not doing this under this because it just doesn't make sense anymore, if they kind of held to their guns, eventually these companies would have to make a change. It may not be the change we want, that's the problem. You know, because like I said, I don't ever want to work for one of these companies. If they go employee model, I'm going. But, you know, I think there's two things going on here. The first one is, what can we do as a group of contractors about all these ways? And I don't think forcing people to be employees is the answer, but I do think that we can seek out ways to force them to honor the independent contractor relationship. How come that's never part of the discussion? Policing the oversteps, policing the extra control. You know, is there some way that we can do something with that? Does it mean going through the Federal Trade Commission, who has said that they're planning on cracking down? I don't know, you know, but that's where I would rather see things go, is something like that. But there's that part, what can we do? But then I think there's the other part that just says, what do we do for ourselves when they're trying to rip us off? And that's where I guess I would really encourage you to at least approach it from that kind of a business perspective and say, okay, I'm in control, I'm the boss, I get to make my own decisions, I am not going to fall for their algorithms or any of that stuff. I'm going to make my own decisions, and unfortunately, if it's not enough at some point, it's time for me to close up shop and go somewhere else. And I don't know how close that time is coming, because I never used to have to wait 20 minutes at a time between orders. You know, so they're playing their games. And at some point, it's not going to make sense anymore. I'm okay to move on, but I think that's the reality that we have to understand as independent contractors, is that we are doing this as a business. It might not feel like it, and I know they really don't think that you're a business owner because of the way they treat us. But in the end, it's not about what they do. It's about what we do. We can only control the things. Yeah, it's not about what they do. It's about what we do. 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Person basically says you can only control or only focus on the things that you can control. We can't control Uber, we can't control DoorDash, but we can control ourselves. We can take an attitude that says, I'm going to take control of whatever it is, and I'm not going to let them control me. And I think the more that we do that, the less likely we are to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? Taken advantage of. That's my thought anyway. Yeah.
We still have a long way to go, but I think this was a great show. I think this was a great showing of people, and I'm glad everybody stuck around. And thank all of you for coming, and let's go get some lunch. And thank everybody for watching online. And please share this out. Everybody that's here that's a content creator, please, we're going to do a meet and greet for like the next hour and a half. We'll be here having some drinks, having some food, having some fun. Please keep your streams going, because in the other room they've got conversations going on. So let's get everything recorded we can. Let's get it all out there. And with that said, I want to thank everybody. And Pedro brought up a good point. I want to thank everybody that showed up company-wise. You know, we got Para, we got Middleton Tech, Gary's Apps, we got Moves. We got Alice from Curry. These companies, if you notice, they're not the ones that we're complaining about. We invited ones that actually treat us good, you know, and that's, I mean, we'll get to a point where maybe we can invite the other ones, but they're not welcome here right now. So until they are, we're gonna call it. So, yeah. So thank you, everybody.